One night, they were celebrating New Year's Eve. He was out, ending their life.
I'm going to commit murder at midnight. Call me evil.
Every New Year's Eve, the caller came out.
Please. I'll do anything you want. We can even get it on if you want to. I won't make any kind of...
One terrifying night of unspeakable evil. New Year's Evil.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes on the podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TCTAMPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me, as always, is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello. The one thing this movie that we watched this week made me realize is that I can't really pinpoint the time frame for new wave music because for some reason I thought it was later than 1980 when this movie was released, but apparently it isn't, or I don't know. I was just surprised that that was like a main focal point of this movie. But it could just be me that I just assume certain things about music years. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, well, I guess it's always harder when it's the past, when it's like before your time, because everything is, a flat, everything in the before times or the before times and not.
Yeah. I did have a discussion with my one coworker who's like really into music, and we realized that like hair metal 80s was only like 4 years, and it wasn't like the entire decade like of its popularity. He broke it down to me.
I mean, you had Kiss. Kiss was in the 70s.
Yeah, but he was talking about more the, your Poisons and your Motley Crues and all that stuff.
New York Dolls. The New York Dolls were, I think they were late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. I think we pinpoint like the height of hair metal is like 80, like Van Halen 84 through like maybe like 88-ish, like Bon Jovi and stuff like that.
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was like, I was like weird. I was like, oh yeah, those two albums are like only not that many years apart, but in my head they seem worlds apart.
Sure, it's like when you think of like the timeline of the Beatles, it's like between
they were only together for a few years.
Yeah, the time between Meet the Beatles and when they broke up was 6 years.
Yeah.
That's it, not even a decade.
Yeah, they didn't make it past 1970.
Yeah. And we're about, we're not far from having 30 years worth of the Foo Fighters. So I mean, quantity over quality.
That's Dave Grohl's motto.
And pretty soon we'll outlive the Beatles in terms of how long this podcast has been around for.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're all probably not far from outliving John Lennon.
Good point.
Right? Did he die? He was like 40?
Something like that. Yeah.
He was young.
That was our goal from the beginning. We didn't let that on to the audience. Is once we were around longer than the Beatles, we would end the podcast. Instead.
We just have to wait till we're bigger than Jesus. That's the big thing.
1940 to 1980. He was only 40 years old when he died.
Wow.
Yeah. So this movie brought up like those thoughts in my head about how it's really, even the music you live through, it's sometimes really hard to quantify like time Like just saying the Foo Fighters are 30 years makes my head spin,
Yeah, I'm jumping the gun a little bit there because Cobain isn't even dead 30 years yet.
Yeah, it's like 27. You're close enough.
You know what annoyed me? What I took away from this movie, Mark, is when like people keep saying that white people can't dance and they have no rhythm. Just watch New Year's Evil. Just I disagree, kind sir or madam. Here's New Year's Evil, and then just watch as a bunch of white folk move around like zombies
and sort of bump into each other a little bit.
Yeah,
it kind of looks like Kensington a little bit,
just a little bit.
Honestly,
I felt at home.
It reminded me like they were trying out for a George Romero movie. Like, all right, just kind of like wander around the dance floor and show zero emotion if you can.
Yeah, it was a kind of a clash of cultures between, I guess, the straight-laced cops and like that generation's idea of what the kids are into.
It held no bearing on the plot of the movie, which is
not
all
at all.
That matters.
Not at all. Yeah. So before we get into this week's movie, I just want to say, hope everybody out there had a great Christmas and holiday, and we're ringing in the new year. This is our last episode of 2022. So by the time most of us listen to this will be 2023. But we decided to spend this year and our last episode of this year with a festive slasher flick, and that is none other than A New Year's Evil from 1980. Now, I've watched this for 31 Days of Horror a few years ago, but I wanted to see what you guys thought of it. So, Dan, where are you coming from with New Year's Eve?
All right, so just a little prologue here. I was high as shit when I watched this movie. And it put me in the best headspace to watch it. I fucking love this movie. And it made zero sense.
Yeah.
The plot is razor thin. The killer's motive is mind-bogglingly simple. And the son from Killer Clowns from Outer Space is in it. I lost my notes. I was saying before we recorded, I lost my notes. But I remember writing Pinky Tuscadero is in this movie.
Yep.
And that's Roz Kelly. Is for the kids out there, Pinky Tuscadero was the Fonz's girlfriend from Happy Days.
Mm-hmm.
And for the kids out there, Happy Days was a TV show like set in the 50s. So we're old. Yeah, I loved it. It made zero sense. At one point, the killer is saying, "Oh, I'm gonna kill people close to you," and proceeds to do like none of that, essentially. I think he kills one person who's close to the main character, and that's it.
It was already done.
Yeah, and it was already done. That's right. So he proceeds to not follow up on his threat. It's a decent body count for a slasher flick.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah, not too bad. And then it just completely falls apart towards the end. I really enjoyed this movie. I can't wait to get into it. I kind of wish I was under the influence right now to discuss it, so I could kind of like galaxy brain it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But
you're gonna have to settle for sober Dan on this one.
Yeah. Now it kind of makes sense that why you lost all your notes.
Yeah. I guess I must have unplugged my laptop at one point and it died. I don't know, but I didn't have anything really groundbreaking on there other than Pinky Tuscadero.
Well, that's good. Well, yeah. Well, for next week, we'll try and teach you all about Google Docs.
That's my New Year's resolution. Learn Google Docs. Join the 21st century.
Yeah. All right. Mark, what about you? New Year's Evil.
Yeah, the whole thing felt like these actors, some of them didn't know what type of movie they were in. Like the son was just acting. He had that monologue and he was doing it, ripping the pantyhose and getting into it. And the rest of the movie is completely silly around it. So it felt so disjointed in that part, but in the best ways. And what I really enjoyed about it is, besides the fact that, as Dan said, it's the simplest of reasons to do this killing, I pegged who the killer was almost immediately for 2 reasons, and simple reasons. I'm not saying I'm some type of genius or detective. He was the only other character mentioned in the entire movie.
Sure.
And they kept mentioning him. And I'm like, that can't be by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he does the surprise and it's like, oh, it's my husband. I'm like, of course. It's so dumb. But the one thing I am glad of is that they did have a smart cop in this movie to where he was like, oh, I think you guys should look into something.
Right.
That's right.
Can you check this out for me? like he didn't buy it completely, which is great. Which is actually one of the more realistic plot points in it is this cop was like, we should check this out.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, the fact that they played New Year's Evil twice in 10 minutes, I think it plays on the radio, and then they have the band play it again at the beginning of the show.
Right. It like kicks off the show, but it also plays on in the opening credits.
Yeah. And that was fun. The one thing I found completely weird was that middle song, like right after New Year's Evil, that really slow guitar song that I'm like, how all these kids are supposed to be like, yeah, punk, yeah, or new wave, or whatever. And it's this real slow guitar, and they're like, oh yeah, man. Just it was that little segment was completely weird and like outside of anything else the movie was portraying. I think they just didn't have a song for that point, and just had to just play their instruments and use the soundtrack to get through. But that made me laugh. My other favorite part, which I loved, was all the different disguises that the killer had were so simple and could only be pulled off in 1980. I have a feeling that women nowadays are a little bit more like that. That roommate would not have gone inside the liquor store nowadays.
Right.
They would have been like, nope, she's coming with me if I'm going in. I'm not leaving her here alone. That whole scene was great in the car where he's like, you want to smell it? It's inside this giant plastic bag that is obviously head shaped. Yeah, it was really good. I think I think I come from it in a little bit more of a simpler terms and sort of enjoying it. As is known in this podcast, you guys are a lot more into this genre and horror and all that. So there's probably things you pick out a little bit more from your history of it that you can discuss. And Dan already mentioned things I didn't even think about. But it felt like it was made in the perfect time. Because I think if it's a little later, I think they go a little bit too much slasher and it ruins it a little bit. And I think if they go earlier, the genre hasn't been formed completely yet and it doesn't work. It's right in the wheelhouse for as simple and campy as it is to work. And yeah, I still love the idea that she was trying to destroy the broadcast with her. I guess she was on the radio simulcasting on a channel on TV. I couldn't put that together, but yeah, I had fun with it.
Okay. I really enjoy this movie. I think the music is great. Mark, you are right that there's really only one connection that it could be to be the killer, but I get like both times I've watched this, I've been surprised because I forgot there was a twist when I watched this, because this movie is unique in that they're not hiding who the killer is. You technically know who the killer is the entire time. What you don't realize till the very end is his relation to it, or how he's supposed to be related to it. But I know Ben Shapiro would probably hate this movie because it feels like a misdirect, willfully deceives the audience is what New Year's Evil does.
Yeah. What was the writer thinking?
But it's so much fun.
This is a woke society.
Yeah. There's really not a whole lot I could say about it. Is the kill, like there's really no blood in it, which is interesting. I mean, but this is like the first wave of Halloween copycats. This is same year that Friday the 13th came out, as well as like a bunch of other movies that came out to kind of jump on the Halloween bandwagon. So, you're not getting the influence from a Friday the 13th yet with the gore, as you said, Mark. It's a little bit later, and it probably would have just been a bloodbath. But yeah, I think the premise is a fun premise. It's interesting, like the kills happening. There's got that ticking clock thing. Erik Estrada being name dropped in this movie. Love it. That's how you got chicks in the 80s.
Yes.
Just promise to take them to Erik Estrada's place for a party.
Yeah, and what was the song the only song they mentioned?
We Don't Need No Education.
Yeah.
Right. Which is another brick in the wall, but yeah.
Yeah. That was like, why did they call? I guess the person didn't know the name. It was another brick in the wall.
Yeah.
But that's fine.
Dan will allow it.
This movie it felt like they kept adding things as the script went on. I was like, all right, well, now we have to make it where the sun is there's something wrong with the sun, and then we need to throw in a killer mask at the very end. Like they wanted to make that killer mask. I don't even know who that's supposed to be. Like some vaudevillian guy.
I don't know.
Is right because it's supposed to stand out, that mask, whatever it's designed after.
Right.
And it only comes into play at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a Bob Hope mask, maybe.
Yeah, right, like a very cartoonish Bob Hope.
Yeah. I feel like its existence is only to have that end shot with Derek putting it on as like basically an obvious pass the torch moment.
Sure. And
is Derek supposed to be in on it?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I'm trying to think because there's a line of dialogue where the husband Richard, he mentions to Diane, the main character, the mother, like you turned our son on. So was Derek trying to fuck his mother?
No, I think he said you turned on your son, not you turned on your son. You turned on your son.
So betraying him.
Right. Yes.
Okay. But because in my mind, I kept thinking, I think Derek wants to bang his mom.
It's a weird relationship, I would say.
Yeah.
There's definitely some sort of weirdness going on. You never really get the whole what the fuck's up with Derek. I guess they mentioned that Richard was in that mental institution. So I guess you can make the connection that Derek, whatever Richard has been passed on to Derek, whether it's like a personality disorder or bipolar disorder or something like that.
Okay.
Because you see him take pills, and I guess you're supposed to assume that he's going to commit suicide. He says, "I have a surprise for you," or he has something I want to tell you, something important.
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes the pills, which I think that might have just been like aspirin or whatever. Because she alludes to him having headaches. And he kind of like grabs his head after he takes the pills, like he's having some sort of episode, like maybe a migraine or something like that.
And there's the whole plot point. There's like it's a C plot almost, where Derek made it on his own. He was hired for a TV pilot, and he did it without using the Sullivan name or the Blaze name or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like what does that matter? It has nothing to do with the movie. It has nothing to do with Derek's mental disorder.
Yeah, I think it's just adds to Richard's motive, right? He's sort of a proto men's rights activist. Like he would totally listen to like Andrew Tate now, given
he did
like
drive a Mercedes.
He drove a Mercedes that his wife probably bought him, right?
So is the whole motive is he's an incel essentially?
I mean, he's probably fucking his own wife, so not incel in the literal term, but he is probably like, he probably hates women. He obviously hates women because all he does is targets and kills women. Right. But he literally says he's emasculated by his wife. He's been castrated by her and her success. Okay. Really. So I think I was just gonna say, and just to finish that point, I just think that he's pointing out like Derek's success is not because of her.
Oh, okay. That makes a little bit more sense because I kept thinking, what does Derek's success have to do with why Richard wants to kill the wife?
I think it's just from a place of jealousy from Richard.
Because he was never successful.
We don't know what he like. They mentioned a club. I guess he runs a club in Palm Springs, and that's where he's supposed to be. Okay. And whether or not that's successful or not is, debatable, I suppose. Probably her name on the lease too, or the deed. I don't know how far her success has taken her and how far it's taken him, but I think he is just showing signs of hate for his own wife because of her success.
It kind of clashes a little bit. I don't know what you guys think, but so the kind of the setup of the movie is Diane is doing this kind of rockathon, right? They're doing this New Year's, rock till you drop or whatever, and they're taking calls for songs to be played. So she's a VJ essentially, right?
Right. Yeah, I think the show's called Hollywood Hotline.
Hollywood Hotline. So they mention it a couple times early on where this is such a big show for Diane. Like she needs this show. So in my mind, I thought they were kind of saying she's trying to become successful. Like she really needs this to be successful. And then Richard is saying that they were able to Derek, the son, was able to succeed despite her success. So I thought maybe there was a little bit of a clash there. But maybe I guess she's already successful.
Yeah, I almost write it as she's successful, but she's getting older, you know?
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Sure.
like looking it up, she's actually only like 38 in this movie.
Gross.
But
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's not gross at all. I don't
No,
want anyone
obviously.
coming after me.
Yeah, we're all in our mid to late 30s.
Yes.
So
Yes. And she looks fantastic.
she looks great.
I'm not
Yeah.
just, again, Pinky Tuscadero. The Fonz hit on her. That's
Yeah. She's good enough for the Fawn. She's good enough for you.
100%. She's
You
better.
out there. All of you out there.
All of
It's
you
too
out
good.
there. Is Roz Kelly still alive? I should have.
I believe she is. Yeah.
I don't see a death date, so
But
I'm sure she's still a knockout.
yeah, I think she needs it to be successful because she doesn't want, at this stage in her career, she doesn't want a failure. Especially with like, we're talking about new wave coming in. There's like the changing of music coming in to kind of affect that. Is she going to get left behind in the 70s, or is she going to continue her success into the 80s?
Ooh, that's an interesting take on it. Trying to evolve with the music and the decade, and that's cool. I wish they kind of would have played more into that. And again, the music really has nothing to do with the plot. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's a great backdrop. The music is great, I think.
I liked it. Yeah, it didn't serve a purpose other than to just set. It was like a set piece essentially.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. I liked the motive at first of Richard, where he was just, as silly as it sounds, he's killing around the time zones when New Year's happens in each time zone. But then he kind of gets sloppy at the end. It's like his end game, and he just abandons everything to kill the wife.
Yeah.
Because he's very meticulous with his earlier killings.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he goes after Roz, he's just, oh, I have you now, and I'm just gonna tie you up and kill you. He abandons all of his tactics essentially.
Yeah. And he's meticulous, but a lot of his plan is given up to chance. Right? So the first kill that he has is in the hospital. Now we can maybe take the leap of faith that he knows that nurse, right? Because he spent time in that mental institution. Right. So let's say he knows that nurse, and let's say he knows that nurse is, likes dick, right?
Right. Yeah. She wants to have a good time. But
that part of the that setup, that first kill, is very reliant on her willingness to drink on the job and fuck him immediately within the first 10 minutes of knowing. The second kill it's very reliant on going to that specific bar and finding a woman that's going to go to a party in Erik Estrada's house. Now, it's 1980, so probably not going to be that hard to find, but he hasn't been stalking these women at all. He's just kind of showing up and hoping someone's there, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think she mentions at some point that she never went to that bar before, so I don't know if he was looking in particular for someone like that, or he was looking for a specific type of woman, didn't realize she wasn't that type of woman.
For all intents and purposes, he goes there and she just happens to be there.
Yeah.
That's the first woman he runs into.
Yeah, the first one that he sees across the bar.
Yes.
Now, she could, for all he knew, she could have had a boyfriend in the bathroom. It's like for a plot, for a plan so meticulous, he leaves so much of the little details. So like, well, I hope there's a woman here, because I have to kill somebody every hour. Right. I feel like that's not a lot of time to kill somebody. 1 hour
from point A to point B, find someone and kill them. That takes some time.
Yes.
And listen, this is going to sound wrong, but Sally deserved to die. She was just very annoying.
Even Lisa had enough of her shit at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, all right, Sally, no, keep your mouth shut, please. And you could see, it's great because Richard, when he woos the nurse, he's a very smooth talker, and he's got all the right words, and he's a slick character. With Sally, you could see on his face, like, what are you talking about, young lady? Like, what is this? What did I get myself into? It was almost like what's the movie where they kidnap the one person, and that person is just so annoying that they wind up letting them go.
I don't know.
I can't remember it, but that I was almost expecting that to happen, where she just wouldn't shut up, and he was like, "All right, just get out. It's not worth it."
Yeah, yeah. I just thought that it was funny because his almost third victim is just happenstance after he hits those bikers.
Right.
So I don't know what his original plan was.
I was thinking to myself, if you're the cops and you know that, all right, this guy says he's gonna kill someone according to every time zone. At the worst, that's only what, 4 or 5 kills if you don't catch him in time. Right? You get East Coast, Central, Mountain, and West Coast, right?
Yep.
So I mean, that's only 4 deaths. That's all right. More than that happens in LA, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, and
So,
the whole point of that being a real big issue is that it's the last kill is definitely going to end up being connected to the show more than just a random killing in Los Angeles.
right. So you protect Roz, and your job is done. All right. We lost 4 other people. It happens. Drop in the bucket.
Yeah. The problem with Richard's plan is that it ultimately leads to him murdering his wife, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just murder your wife.
Yeah. Well, there's at one point he calls the show. I think it's the first time he calls the show and introduces himself as Evil. Terrible nickname, by the way. Evil. Yeah. Oh, that voice. Awful. I mean, I'm assuming that was budgetary reasons for that.
Probably.
But yeah, he goes, I'm gonna kill someone close to you. And it doesn't do that. And he just goes around killing random people who Roz has never met. But yeah, your whole end game is you're going to kill Roz. So just kill her. Go after her. There's no reason to go after the nurse and the 2 women at the bar. Because it doesn't draw Roz out.
Right.
Right? There's no reason for Roz to leave the show. There's no reason for there to be heightened panic. Because these people are all unassociated with Roz.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your just say you're going to kill people until he should have said, I'm going to kill someone every hour on the hour unless you do something, unless Roz shows herself or like puts herself in danger.
I think his ultimate goal, well, outside of killing his wife, I think his ultimate goal was to ruin her show.
But he's not doing that.
Well, he thought by having threats to the show, the cops would stop it, Who knows what he was actually thinking. But, he thought doing all that would somehow get people to run out screaming when he talks on the phone. But those people are way too on their ludes to leave that party.
They don't take kindly to authority.
Oh, they are definitely a cab.
Oh, 100%. we
all
don't take orders from you, pig.
I'm being told by Google that it was a Stan Laurel mask.
Stan Laurel. Oh, man.
Laurel and Hardy.
I guess that's what iconic, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe in 1980.
Maybe. Yeah, but people in the theater are like, oh, it's a Stan Hardy mask.
Yeah.
I have that mask.
But yeah.
Despite all of those plot holes and the absurdity of the killer, I liked it. I there was some charm to it,
Yeah.
It was very grungy feeling.
It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty good concept for a low budget slasher.
Yeah.
Pretty enjoyable. New Year's Evil from 1980 is directed by Emmett Alston, who has directed movies such as Three-Way Weekend, Tiger Shark, Demon Warp, Force of the Ninja, and Little Ninjas, not to be confused with Three Ninjas. Stars Roz Kelly, Kip Niven, Chris Wallace, Grant Kramer, Louisa Moritz, Jed Mills, Taif O'Connell, Anita Crane, and John Alderman. IMDb score of 4.8, a Rotten Tomato score of 25%. Budget $500,000, and I did not have a box office for that. I feel like the ratings are a little bit low.
The budget was $500,000?
Yeah.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in 1980, what do you think that comes out to?
I do not know. I'll say, let's say $5 million.
$5 mil?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say it's definitely in the millions, but I wouldn't, I couldn't be 100% sure. But yeah, that's pretty low budget.
Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Dan, what you got for us this week?
Okay, guys, you know where I'm going with this, so just cut to the chase. Go over to geekvibesnation.com. Check out the Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where our very good friends, Tia and Brittany, run down their top 10 lists of the week. So again, that's geekvibesnation.com. Search the Top 10 with Tia.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast,
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for New Year's Evil. We open on a hotel as Diane, our main character, is getting her makeup done as she is getting chewed out by her producer for being late. She tells him to take a lewd and relax. Then she tells him to call her assistant Yvonne. It rings Yvonne. She answers. Diane asks her if she got a hold of Richard, who is Diane's husband. And Yvonne tells her that he was in Palm Springs and it sounded like he got the New Year's Eve festivities started early, insinuating he was either drunk or high, and tells her he's probably not going to make it to the show tonight. So Diane is mad and she hangs up the phone. Yvonne starts putting her makeup on and getting ready, but she hears some knock on the door, so she goes to look, but no one is there. She goes back to the bathroom and turns the tub faucet to try and stop the tub from dripping, but then an unseen assailant grabs her by the face and flicks a switchblade, presumably getting ready to kill Yvonne. Then the most badass credit song plays as we see a whole bunch of punks drive around Hollywood Boulevard, harassing the neighboring normie cars as they hang out the side of their convertible.
My one question in this scene, is why doesn't that one car just roll up their window?
then the punks win.
I was going to say, you can't let them win.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that, again, these kids would come into play later in the movie or at any point.
Yeah.
But I think it's just setting the tone of, it's punk rockers.
Yeah, it's just window dressing.
Yeah.
And back in Diane's room, she continues to get ready for the show, and her son Derek comes in bringing her flowers. He tries to tell her that he had a part in a television series that starts shooting next week, but she's too preoccupied with getting ready for the show, so she ignores him. Upset, he tells her he's going to watch her show from his hotel room, and then he leaves. The show starts, and Diane is some sort of rock and roll TV personality with a stage name Blaze. She starts off the show by checking in with the other time zones that'll be checking in with as they celebrate New Year's at the respective midnights. Then she goes to the phones and takes some calls, asking what everyone's favorite songs of the year are. But then one of the callers with a voice modulator tells her that he's going to commit a murder at midnight as his New Year's resolution. Blows him off on air, and then she kicks it to the band, who plays New Year's Evil again. And she goes to her manager and tells him she doesn't want any trouble from this caller. Meanwhile, our killer sneaks into some sort of mental institution when the cook goes out to throw some stuff out in the back, and he poses as an orderly when he runs into a nurse. He tells her he was sent from county to help out from the hospital being understaffed. Then he tells the nurse he has a bottle of champagne he'd like to open with her before he's on the clock. So she brings him into the break room where they open a bottle and pour the champagne. Back at the hotel, Diane's manager, Ernie, brings in the police regarding the phone call, and the police basically aren't giving the phone call any serious treatment, saying that Diane should expect this sort of behavior given her audience.
It's kind of like slut-shaming a little bit, right?
It's a clash of generations, right?
Yeah. You people deserve this in a way.
Victim blaming.
Yeah. From the cops? No way. I don't believe it. I don't believe the cops would do that.
Yeah, what were you wearing when you got this phone call?
Exactly. That's exactly what would happen today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did you do?
Yeah. Regardless, the cops tell her to keep the guy on the phone longer the next time he calls so they can record it and try and trace it. So then Diane calls her son Derek and tries to get him to come watch the show. He says not for a little while. He then says he has something important to tell her, and then she blows him off and hangs up. And he takes a handful of pills. Back at the hospital, the patients are all given party hats and noisemakers as they all watch the show, and New York starts counting down to midnight. And back in the break room, the nurse and the guy are getting real cozy, making out and getting ready to fuck on a table. When the countdown gets to midnight, the guy hits record on a tape recorder he's carrying with him, pulls out a switchblade you see in shadow, and strikes down on the woman, and she screams. The show goes on, and Diane starts taking calls again. Evil calls back, telling her that he has made his first kill, then proceeds to play the recording of the nurse getting murdered over the phone. And he tells her the cops can find her body at the sanitarium.
Question.
Yep.
What's the point of tipping the cops off to this?
I think he wants to get caught. Again,
is that what it is?
Again, if his whole plan is that he wants to start a new year not under her thumb, as in like not needing a allowance from her and to have that money be his own and do what he wants to do and not have to worry about his very successful wife, just kill your wife.
Yeah.
You know?
He
poison her food.
Yeah. He creates a roadblock for himself.
Yes. Like
right,
he could smother her in the bed when she's sleeping.
Right.
He has almost 24-hour access to his own wife. They're not divorced. They're not estranged. They are living in the same house, I presume. Like he has plenty of opportunity to kill his own wife, but he decides to make this extravagant show of it for no real reason.
Yeah. And you could even lie about the killings. You could just say, yeah, I'm going to kill someone every hour on the hour and not kill anybody, but convince her that, yeah, someone was killed.
Sure. Yeah. You probably splice up some audio.
Definitely, right? But
Yeah.
you would just get to, like, all right, pretend like you're being stabbed and like I'll pay you, you know?
Yeah. He's just not thinking like that.
No. And also he's not a bad looking guy, and clearly he has no problem picking up women. So what's your problem, bud?
You're saying just have an affair?
Yeah, just cheat, dude. It's better than killing people.
I suppose that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Richard, there were a lot of ways you could went about this a whole lot differently.
Yeah.
One of them was to just cheat on your wife. But who's to say he wasn't cheating on his wife?
It's possible.
He does he does run a club in Palm. Like that's red. If I was a woman and my husband was like, I want to open up a club, red flag.
Yeah. In the 70s too.
Yeah. It's like, why do you want to do that?
Right. And you know the drugs are flowing. There's booze. There's a lot of probably unprotected sex going on.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
I mean, because the prospect of him being high already was like, oh, again.
That's
the sort of thing
right.
that's like, oh, he's probably just up on cocaine.
In all aspects of life, he's won.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's on Easy Street.
He has his own club. Who cares if it's in her name, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. His wife's the breadwinner. It might not even be in her name because the car is registered to him.
That's true.
It's in his name. So he gets an allowance, but he's at least given the freedom to have that car in his name. It's not under her name.
Sure. Yeah, and again, I would imagine not everyone knows that he gets an allowance.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Maybe she couldn't get a line of credit. When were women allowed to get credit?
That's a good question.
I think definitely after this, but
after or before?
I think it was in the 70s
So
they were allowed the credit cards at least. But
women can do things now.
1974 Equal Credit Opportunity Act.
Yeah,
there you go. So she would have been able to do it.
That's insane that happened in our parents' lifetime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff, right?
Yeah, and the other crazy thing is all that happened, and then credit scores didn't become a thing for another 15 years.
Destroying
society.
Destroying anything that we had good going for us.
Yeah, I in the 70s, right. I think college was free up until a point, right? Most colleges were free. It was a free higher education, wasn't it?
All I know is my dad went to a private school and paid for it on a $3.50 an hour job working at a department store.
Well,
And he
it's
bought
our
himself
fault.
a brand new Camaro.
The times are a little different.
What a fucked up, man. We should get a time. We really need to work on this time machine.
And again, this guy Richard. He's winning.
Yeah.
All of this. He probably went to school for free. He has a club. His wife is a well-known celebrity.
Yeah. You can turn on TV. He's like, hey, I'm fucking that woman.
Right. And any woman that he wants to. So I don't get, like, where is the animosity here?
I don't know. He just doesn't like the he doesn't like his allowance. He wants more of it. Probably because he's spending it all on coke.
Probably. Yeah. This would have made a great Columbo episode.
Yes, that is exactly what this movie is missing.
It needs Columbo.
Yeah.
One more thing.
Richard doesn't get away with it. All of his success happens that he wanted to happen, and then Columbo comes in the day after and figures it out.
Oh, man. Be great. I would watch the hell out of that episode.
Then at that moment, another nurse from the hospital goes looking for the nurse that got murdered and finds her body stashed in the break room. As the show goes on, Derek watches from the hotel room and starts to have a mini breakdown, talking to himself and pulling a stocking over his head. Cops at the hotel get a call from the hospital, and they break it to Diane that the caller is for real, and they just found his first victim. She's afraid that he's done something with Yvonne, but they say they haven't found any evidence of that yet. But they mention this guy is going to kill someone at midnight in each time zone. Now our killer now has changed clothes and puts on a fake mustache and goes into a bar and starts making eyes with a woman across the bar. He goes up to talk to her with her friend while her friend goes to dance with another guy. He talks her up, saying he's a business manager to the stars and he's late for a party at Erik Estrada's house. Tells her she could come to the party with him, and she says sure, but she has to go to the ladies' room first, and she'll meet him outside. Show goes on, another band performs. When the girl comes out of the bar, she says that she has to bring her friend with her, and our killer is just kind of like, sure, fine. And they all pile into the car and leave. Back at the show, in the back, the cop plays the recording from Evil's last call and asks her if she can identify anything about the caller's voice despite the voice modulation, and she says no. And the assistant director comes up and asks if she wants someone else to take over the show for the Chicago feed, and she says no, she's not going to let this guy ruin the show for her. Back in the car with our killer, and the girl he picked up is talking on and on about the first time she came to LA and about transcendental meditation, and both the killer and this girl's friend Lisa both are absolutely over it at this point.
I'm sure Lisa was probably like, I wish someone would kill this woman.
The killer's getting really antsy, though, because it's like 5 minutes to 10, and he needs to find some way to commit the crime by 10 o'clock. And then Lisa says that she needs to stop, so he pulls over to the liquor store, gives Lisa $100, telling her to get the biggest bottle of champagne they have. So Lisa goes in and tells the other girl that he has this great weed from Colombia if she wants some. Pulls out this huge bag and tells her to smell, but then just pulls the bag over her head and suffocates her. Meanwhile, Lisa's in the liquor store getting change and having a really awkward interaction with the liquor store cashier.
She's a racist, correct?
No, I just think it was a weird... I think it was just bad line reading from both of them.
It seemed like he knew, right?
That she was about to die?
It seemed like he was like, yep, see you later, lady.
He's prophetic?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Man, this bitch gonna die.
Yeah. She's getting our best bottle of wine.
It's like, you know what? Just keep, this one's on us.
That would be such a great plot twist.
The psychic cashier at the liquor store.
Yeah.
He has it's like the dead zone. He accidentally touched her hand. That's what we didn't see. It's his visions.
And he is strictly forbidden from interfering with destiny.
Yeah.
Just like,
maybe is he from the future?
He's quantum leaping this shit.
He's from 1981.
Yeah. He only has the power to go forward 1 year or backwards 1 year.
It's really not a year. It's just a day. He read it in the news on January 1st.
This is the lamest power ever.
So when Lisa comes out, she doesn't see the car, but then she sees the other girl's purse near a dumpster. If you haven't figured it out, I had no idea what this woman's name was, this annoying girl.
Sally, I think, right?
Sally, yeah. What looks to be Sally's blue dress sticking out of the dumpster. When she opens it, our killer is in there, and he grabs her and pulls her in. Now, this is the thing. It was like he put a lot of faith that she was going to she was going to find the purse, see the dress, lift it open, right?
Yep.
He could have been sitting in that dumpster for like hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what if Lisa comes out and just, oh my God, she left, and then goes to call somebody?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, this guy is flying by the seat of his pants at this point.
Yeah, he leaves a lot to chance because he could just leave though. He's already made the kill.
That's what I thought he did.
Yeah,
like he drove off with her after, or like drove off with her, or killed her and then drove off.
Right. I guess he can't but if he takes I was gonna say he can't leave a witness. But like if you take the body with you, then it's just like, oh well, they just went off to the party without me.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And he was in such a great disguise. There's no way that Lisa would be able to say.
It is stupid he does all this with his own fucking car, though.
That's true.
It's true.
Right.
This
What's
like
the point?
that's serial killer like 101.
Yeah, steal a car.
Or at least take the plates off.
That's a good point. Yeah.
We need a burner car. If like how many really nice Mercedes are rolling around the streets on New Year's Eve? Not a whole lot.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
They're
in those areas,
Estrada's house.
They're all at Erik Estrada's house, exactly.
He owns all of the Mercedes. I have 33 Mercedes Benz.
I was just gonna say I have 33 cars. What a fucking stupid flex. You can only drive one car at a time.
Right. So at that point, there's 32 cars that are not on the road at any given point.
Yeah, paying insurance on it.
Yeah. What a weird idea. I don't get it.
Yeah. Unless you got to straddle both cars. Maybe you could drive two.
Like Jean-Claude Van Damme it.
Yeah. Like giant roller skates.
It's hilarious. That's a weird image, though.
We then cut to Evil playing the recording of the latest kill, and then tells Blaze where the cops can find the bodies. Starts getting changed as some cops drive past. They find the dumpster and then a blood trail that they follow to a backyard nearby, where they find the two women displayed on a child swing set, which was also unnecessary.
Yeah.
Didn't the one girl slide down a slide?
Yeah.
Okay, because I cackled at that moment.
It's a little thing called showmanship.
You know, he is pretty he's got the riz for this.
He does. Yeah. He's if he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it right.
As the kids would say, the riz.
Real quick, what is that? Is that kind of like the sizzle to the steak kind of thing?
No, it's just charisma.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I should have picked up on that.
It's okay.
I don't think I'm supposed to, though, right?
Yeah, well, you're a millennial, so no.
Yeah.
This is Gen Z stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm glad you know it, though.
Yeah, I know what the kids are talking about.
You got your ears to the streets.
Yeah, I've got my Steve Buscemi skateboard with me. How you doing, fellow youths?
Infiltrating the youths.
The lieutenant gets the call from the cops on the scene, and he realizes that it matches the MO of the other kill, so it's definitely the same killer. Evil is now dressed as a preacher, driving around, starts to get hassled by a group of bikers. While he is driving, he gets distracted and winds up hitting one of the bikers from behind as they are stopped at a stoplight. Bikers get pissed and start to bang on his car until he manages to drive off, winds up pulling into a drive-in to lay low, but the bikers follow him in and start sneaking around the drive-in lot trying to find him. So he starts to make a run for it, winds up stabbing one of the bikers, then pulls a guy out of the car, drives away with the guy's date still in the back. Cops tell Diane that it's probable that all of this is leading to the very real possibility that the last victim is planned to be Diane herself, and they need to lock down the hotel.
Duh.
Yeah.
Why would he be calling her if she's not going to be the last victim?
That would just be, silly, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Evil starts driving the girl around for a while, not saying much, just flashing his switchblade a few times. Everybody's got switchblade in this movie too, like several allusions to switchblades.
I did love the switchblade comb in the beginning, by the way.
Oh, yeah. The cop would have fucking beat the hell out of that kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. The second he pulls out what appears to be a weapon,
yeah,
that kid's not going home.
I think the difference is he's actually a security guard, not a cop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least get maced.
Yeah.
Brutally maced.
While the girl pleads for her life, saying she doesn't have any money, but she'll do whatever he wants, he drives around. As he drives a couple of... Okay.
I was shocked that Richard didn't take her up on her offer of like, I'll do whatever you want. I won't even complain about it.
Yeah. We can make it if you want.
That's what, yeah, we can make it. I was like, oh boy, here it comes. But so no, he was all business.
It's like, no, I gotta murder you.
Right.
I gotta
No
think
time
with
for
the big
sex.
head. I gotta think with the big head, not the little one.
It's surprising willpower there.
Yeah. The cops tell Diane, as he drives, a couple of drunks walk into the middle of the street, forcing Evil to stop the car. And in that moment, the girl manages to get out of the car and run away. After threatening the two drunks, Evil starts after the girl, running through the woods and then tracking her to a high school sports field and bleachers. As he stalks her, trying to find her, a police cruiser pulls up and the cops see him, so he has to run away. Meanwhile, during a commercial break, the lieutenant gets on the stage to tell the crowd that they are locking down the show. No one is allowed in the show at this point, and if they leave, they won't be allowed back in. And he gets the reception you'd expect from a bunch of punks. They basically boo him off the stage, which is hilarious.
We're trying to protect you. Fuck you, pig.
Just trying to have a good time, narc.
Yeah. Narc, where?
Evil eventually pulls up to the hotel, being dropped off by someone in a pickup. Still dressed as the preacher. Sees another guy trying to get into the hotel to no avail, so he tries to find another way in. He makes it to the parking garage when he sees a cop standing by the entrance. So he hides and shouts over to the cop, saying that he found a drunk that he needs help with. But when the cop comes over, he hits him in the head with a brick, then takes his uniform and walks in. Classic Bugs Bunny move.
You know what I found interesting
What?
about that scene? The cop that he calls over is a heavyset cop,
Yeah.
and the uniform fits Richard perfectly fine.
Like a glove.
Yep, snug as a bug.
Meanwhile, a cop escorts Diane up to her hotel room and makes it a point to check out the room before he leaves. When he opens his bedroom door, he finds Derek in there, who gets upset for getting a gun pulled on him and leaves in a huff, saying he had a surprise for Diane, but now he wants no part of it. Derek leaves, and Diane sits down in her vanity when Evil walks in from the bathroom with a mask and a switchblade at the ready. Diane sees him and screams, but then he takes the mask off, and she is revealed to see her husband Richard under the mask. So Richard is evil, basically. Steps out to tell the cop that he's in the room and he's Diane's husband. Cop gets confused, saying that no one was supposed to be able to get in or out of the hotel, so how did he manage it? And he says that he cleared it with her agent. Back downstairs, the lieutenant gets a call regarding the fact that a Mercedes was found abandoned in a drive-in that was registered to Diane's husband Richard, and he also stabbed a biker. And through some investigation, Richard spent some time in a mental institution where the nurse was killed. The other cop radios down to ask whether the agent gave Richard permission, and he denies it, so now everyone realizes that it's been Richard this whole time.
You know what I was thinking? Richard could have just called Blaze and gotten clearance to come in.
Yeah, he literally could have done exactly what he said.
Yeah, right? He could have done that. Like he could walk up to the security guard and say, hey, listen, I'm Blaze's husband, Richard, and I'm sure the security guard or the cop would have been, like, oh, how can we prove this, or how can you prove it? Call her or get her down here or whatever. Call her and she'll confirm it.
Yeah, talk to Ernie, her agent.
Yeah.
Like literally, like his lie is something he 100% could have done.
I wonder if he thought of that when he mentioned, like, shit, I could have just done that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the cop escorts Diane out of her room and they head to the elevator to go back down to the show. While they're in the elevator, Richard finds the power board for the elevator and just starts randomly fucking with it with a screwdriver, sending the elevator into a free fall. I hope elevators aren't really this easy to just screw with.
To tamper with?
Yeah.
Yeah,
just kind of stabbing at it with a screwdriver.
I would imagine back then it might have been.
Yeah.
He's a master electrician, apparently.
Well, maybe he has to deal with it with his club.
Yeah, he's the repairman for the club. Money's tight.
Yeah, maybe that's why he's so upset. He doesn't own the club; he just works maintenance.
No, that's great. So he's just what's the word? He's basically just a janitor.
I guess so. Yeah,
interesting.
Driving around in a Mercedes. Yeah, but once again, Richard is a kept man. It's
again, he's got it made.
It's true. It's different times, though. I suppose
Right. Yeah, being behind a woman is frowned upon, I guess.
Yeah, 1980. Yeah, sure. Nowadays, You want a kept man? I am here.
Oh,
Just have
we
to
talk
run
about
my
it all
life
the time.
first.
I would love nothing more than to be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, ladies won't have it though.
No.
Yeah, that's like that TikTok video where the guy sort of is like making it seem like it would be emasculating. Goes, if your wife made $500,000 a year, would you stay at home? And then it cuts to the guy dancing around doing chores in his robe.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You couldn't stop me from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the original, I guess the original video that they're taking that clip from is a person going, but then you're not a man or whatever. But all the videos attached to it are great.
Listen, you call me whatever you want. I'll be at home hanging out.
Yeah.
The house would be spotless.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Dinner would be made.
Dinner would be made. I'd be in the best shape of my life specifically for her to make her happy.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
Yeah. And that V cut, that's how in shape I would be.
The fabled V cut.
Yeah, the D'Angelo V.
Yeah, I would do whatever it took.
Yeah. So consider this our application, rich women that listen to our podcast.
I'm sure they're lining up in droves.
You just gotta let us podcast for about like an hour and a half every Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Right. That's the only stipulation, right?
Yeah. It's not asking for much.
No. Everything else you're catered to. So
Yep.
But then again, if they told me I can't, sorry guys.
No deal.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, no deal. I'm gone.
So Richard stops the elevator and the cop and Diane both get knocked out. And then Richard opens the doors and kicks the cop in the face for good measure, then pulls him out and wakes up Diane. Plays with the recording of the first kill, and now she realizes that it has been Richard the entire time. He says that he did it because she emasculated him, and that women are all bad because they're selfish. He's really upset over the lack of allowance he gets, which is why he killed Yvonne, because she was the one that doled out the allowance. He also tells her that he doesn't like the way she treats their son, and that their son, Derek, got his part in the series without using her name, so he was able to do it on his own without her. That Richard's new life will start in the new year, and he's going to take Derek to the Rose Bowl tomorrow. So then he forces her up and starts to chain her up, and he winds up chaining her up underneath the elevator so that she'll get crushed by the elevator when it goes to the lobby. So he puts her under, and then some party goers get on, and he starts fucking with the controls, making the elevator free fall. But then the cops show up, and he starts shooting at them. They return fire and wind up hitting the elevator controls, causing it to stop, and Richard makes a break for it.
You forgot. There are two random people in the elevator now.
Yeah.
Yep.
One covered in tape?
Yeah.
Oh, you said the party goers. That's right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just the one guy is covered in tape.
Yeah.
That's his outfit. It looks like Scotch tape.
He's like, some weird shit going on in here.
Yeah, it's you. You're the weird shit.
I love that the cops are lucky that shooting the electrical thing didn't cause the elevator free fall more, that it stopped it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I meant to do that.
It's a dead man switch. That's what they hit.
Yeah. Oh, good shooting. Oh, yeah, I meant to do that.
He's going to get a promotion for it.
Oh, yeah, big time.
They go searching for Richard, and he makes it to the roof and puts the mask on again. Cop finds him and tells him to freeze, and the lieutenant shows up too. Then Richard quotes Hamlet and jumps off the roof to his death. Crowd gathers around, and the cops try and pull the crowd away. Derek sees what he comes to realize is his dad. He takes the mask off the body. Diane gets put in the back of an ambulance, but it's now being driven by Derek wearing the mask, as he's killed the actual ambulance driver, even though there were so many people there to witness that murder.
Yeah,
and then he drives off.
Pointless.
Yep. Because they're hoping for a sequel.
I thought the sequel bait was going to be she gets to the hospital and then she wakes up and there's a doctor there, quote unquote doctor, and the doctor turns around and it's Derek in the mask. I thought that would be the stinger.
Or like they get a call, like the cops say there was another murder.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. He drives off, and then it ends as the radio, some radio talks about how it's midnight in Honolulu. So
who cares?
Like hours later. Yeah.
The movie's over.
But that's New Year's Evil. A lot of fun. It's leaving. By the time you hear this, I think it's leaving Prime. Who knows? Maybe it'll be back one day.
I think it's on Paramount.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'd say probably, this feels like a Tubi movie.
it does, right? In
Very
spirit.
much.
Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, it's a good time. We've got another segment coming up after this. So this is for the plot, but we are going to take a quick break. You guys are going to listen to some ads so we can pay those bills, and we'll be back in a second. And welcome back. And now it's time for our final, and I guess, final segment of the year, really. So we're being festive with it. We're going to do resolutions for the 2023 year. Now, like I said, doesn't have to be too personal. You guys want to keep things too close to the vest, that's fine. But we could talk about like podcast resolutions if you want. And we could keep it light, breezy. Don't need a top 5 or anything like that, but just want to hear what you guys are looking forward to in 2023, what you hope to accomplish. So, Mark, why don't we start with you?
Yeah. So my first one is just something that's happened over the last month that made me realize something I think I would like to do more in 2020 2023.
Oh, don't do that to us, Mark.
I want to go back to 2020. Stay in my house. Do not. Fuck you guys.
You missed the chance to have an excuse, right? To not go anywhere.
No, in 2023 is maybe not so much watch more movies or play more games, but essentially get away from. I was doing a lot of like just going and putting on YouTube or Twitch and just watching whatever was on there instead of doing something like watching a movie or playing a game. So I think one of my resolutions is going to be, play more stuff for me and maybe watch some more stuff instead of, constantly going to, Twitch and YouTube and watching other people do things, sort of, if that makes sense.
Sure.
What I'm
Less
saying.
Passive consumption.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the best way to put it, because the last month, and it was mainly because I've been playing through 2 games, just nose down in them, trying to get done for our podcast, the Game Vault, that I didn't do much YouTube or Twitch, and I didn't miss it, and just had fun going through those games. And I realized maybe it's just a holiday break here, nobody's doing anything, but I put on those 2 things, and I'm like, there's nothing. Like, some people are doing the same stuff over and over, and I'm like, maybe it's just a sign of growing up, but I just want to get past. Maybe that's pushing past the going back to 2020 thing, pushing past the, just doing stuff for myself and not hoping other people to entertain me.
Great. Good one. All right, Dan, what about you? What do you got going on?
It's a good question. I know we talked about it before, and you presented us this question earlier, and I these are always tough. I agree with Mark. I would like to maybe go to the movies a little bit more often this year. I streamed most of the movies I watched in 2022, so maybe go to the theaters a little bit more often if I can. That would be nice. Podcast wise, I guess we always talk about having more guests on and trying to diversify that. So that's always an easy one. I wouldn't mind being on other people's podcasts, some movie podcasts in the future. Maybe the Binge Media guys or, OD Parlay Hour, stuff like that. Just, try to get the name out that way. I definitely want to get the name out if possible. And I would say that's probably the big one. Be more, I guess, branch out more.
Sure. Yeah. And I think similarly for me in that same way, definitely want to invite more people, expand our kind of circle of people that we bring on. I mean, I think we did make a step forward this year. Always good to make another step forward in that. And yeah, finally get the promo that I've written like months ago recorded and done. That'd be good. Stop shuffling my feet on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how that feels.
Yeah. Personally, I think I want to read more. Every year I start off like I'm going to read some books, and I read like 2 or 3 in the first couple of months, and then just like back to like doom scrolling.
It's so difficult not to do that.
Yeah, right. But that's what I would like to do in terms of personal wise. And you guys got anything else you want to mention?
Maybe stream more. I've done It's so especially because my wife streams a lot and she's much better at it than I am. It's very difficult. I mean, Mark, I'm sure you could attest to it. It's hard to stick to a schedule. But I want to see if I could do that. I got some stuff for Christmas for streaming. Again, my wife was very kind and got me some good stuff. So I kind of want to, at least, if not for myself, for her, just to show her that I appreciate what she got me. And again, but that's another way to possibly branch out the podcast. You know, I talk about it on the stream, but it would be great if there was more than 2 people there to hear it, and one being my wife. So, who I think knows about the podcast. I hope so. But yeah, I think that would be good. A good way, a good avenue to branch out a little bit more and just try to stick to that schedule.
Yeah, I mean, from the same sense, I feel that if I didn't do the things that I do, meaning with this podcast and all that, I could probably stick to a schedule like Jen. But having, coming from work and then having to do, watch the movie, do this podcast, that's at least a day and a half, of time. And then, trying not to do it at the same time she does, and it's sort of like, I have to get over the feeling like I'm obligated to stream. I should just stream when I can and not try to set a schedule, because every time I do, I can't really hold up to it, because the only days I have available are usually weekends, and who knows what's going to happen, for weekends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, like tonight, I when I record this, I filled in for Jen, and I probably have some time, tomorrow, and then we're going to start doing D&D stuff. And, it's just, I might have to, from a personal standpoint, just be okay with doing it once a week on top of the other stuff we do. But yeah, I feel that I'm not made for solo streaming, because when I play games, I'm very silent. I need somebody on like Discord, on comms with me to kind of keep me talking at times. That's one of the things she does that I can't figure out exactly how to do, is just keep up with the chat and have inside jokes with the chat, stuff like that. Like, that's just something, looking from the outside while watching people on Twitch, I'm like, oh, I could do that. And then you get in front of the camera and the microphone, and it just doesn't happen. I think my resolution on that end is, instead of streaming and having a set game I play for the stream, maybe I stream whatever I'm playing at that point, so it doesn't seem like I'm, forcing myself to play games. So I don't know. It's a long-winded way to say trying to figure out the streaming schedule over on Game Vault.
Yeah, we don't really need to keep this going unless there's anything more that you guys wanna bring up. But yeah, just figured it was nice to kind of set some goals for the year.
Yeah. If I can say one thing for this podcast, I would like to be able to set my schedule out longer in terms of the movie for my choice than I do. Just so if we have to double back and cross things off, we have the time. And I've already tried to do it and it's already seen the schedule that I've done so far. I try to mix it up as much as I can because I don't have the, breadth of, B to, so bad it's good movie knowledge as a lot of people out there. So hopefully find some good movies and do that, and don't just keep relying on the same genre and same time period. So that's my goal for this podcast.
Okay, good, great. Yeah, that's it. That's it for this podcast, I think. I just want to, as this is the last episode of the year, I want to once again, I think we did it a few episodes ago for 200th episode. I want to thank everybody that did join us for a podcast or two this year. It's always great to have guests on. As we mentioned, we'd like to get some more on. We'd like to bring some old guests back in 2023 and maybe expand kind of what we do here. Happy with the way things are going with this podcast, and always looking to, create more if we can, if we have time, because that's always the thing. Just seems to be, time is fleeting. Eventually time comes for us all.
It's so dark.
That is dark. It's not really the way I want to end
the
year coming into brand new year. It's a new year, new opportunities, and all that stuff. But Yeah. So we'll see you in 2023 with a brand new episode. And we're going to get out of here and enjoy what's left of 2022. So that's it for New Year's Evil. The director was Emmett Alston. So for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Lavecchio telling Emmett Alston, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.